So, welcome to my speech today. Let's try to keep it in 1 hour. My voice might get a bit broken here and then. I might put on some video and drink some water during those times, but let's see. So, yeah, and let's start. So, a long way to this day. I just turned 44. And yeah, I started with Frozen Byte games professionally in the game industry in 2003. And even though I made indie games in the past, like 99, Starfight Gatekeepers, that was released in 2000. Back then it was the biggest freeware game ever published, and it was featured in German and Britain PC Gamer covers even. So I did soundtrack for that and some sound design. And back then I didn't even know if I'm gonna be going to the game industry professionally. But yeah, turns out I did with Frozen Byte. So Frozen Byte hired me as an in-house audio director basically. So I did sounds and music for them, and also I was part of designing the narrative for Shadowgrounds, the game. Shout out if anybody remembers this amazing game. I even had Eamon from Lordi playing guitars in the soundtrack, so they just won the Eurovision, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, I worked with Frozen Byte 6 years, and it seemed that quite many other companies wanted to do work with me, so I formed my own company called AriTunes, better than iTunes. So I worked with AriTunes, multiple projects, started working with Remedy Games, Alan Wake sound design, and of course there was some hit games like Angry Birds there, most of Trine series through my own company, and as well as games to Housemarque games, Superstars HD, Resogun, Dead Nation, Alienation, Nex Machina, Matterfall, Outland, a lot of games. And there's various other games as well that I haven't listed up here. So long time. And mostly those games I did all sounds and music until I met my right-hand man, Alexander Dmitriev, who continued to do the sound design for AriTunes. And I moved more back to being a composer, producer, and creative lead on projects I work with. So I've basically done everything from sound design, music, and mixing, voiceovers, even acting in some games. But like Resogun mode, commando mode, I did Schwarzenegger. Let's see. I cannot do it. Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, okay. I cannot do it that much. My voice will go. Anyway, let's move forward. So, SAROS is the game. I worked over 3 years with Housemarque as audio lead. If you haven't seen the trailer, you will see it now.
Every time the sun dies, time stretches and tears.
Scan for Saltari signals.
Signal corrupted. Approximating.
Is that the thing from the ridge?
Confirmed.
You better stay out of my way.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Gregory Loudon, Creative Director at Housemarque. Today we are thrilled to show off this first look of gameplay for SAROS running on PS5. SAROS builds on Returnal's award-winning action and tells the emotional and haunting story of Arjun Devraj's drive for answers on the shape-shifting planet of Carcosa. Here we show off one of our exciting combat features, the Soltari Shield. By holding R1, you can defend yourself and absorb projectiles. By absorbing projectiles, you can now hit back hard using your power weapon. By holding the adaptive trigger on L2, you'll be able to destroy enemies using Eclipse-driven weaponry.
Soltari holocache detected.
Mark it on the map.
Here is a Soltari hololog, where you can learn more about lost Carcosa.
I'll try to forget.
Hold on for me. I will find you. I promise.
This is Second Chance, where you can be revived on first death to get straight back into the action. Second Chance is part of our permanent progression systems, which means you will always come back stronger.
The sun is forever.
All right, kick-ass material for sure, and cannot wait when the game is finally released. And yeah, so what I did during that time. So part of my audio lead responsibilities, basically directing the overall player experience through audio. And that's a broad subject itself. And basically define sonic vision alongside creative director Gregory Loden, and define music design for composer and the music team. And we had, I was lucky enough to work with Sam Slater, award-winning composer. And yeah, basically because of Sam and the experience of like finding myself again in the music side, I decided to go back to my own company now that SAROS is basically finalized, and continue in my own company. So I led the audio team, optimizing pipelines and workflows. Yeah, tedious thing, production, but it has to be done. And integrated audio directly in gameplay narrative design. So not personally in like voice or anything, but integrated in a way that the teams understood each other, understood what's important to understand in narrative sense, and how that relates to creating sounds and music. And build studio infrastructure, long-term team growth, and now there's a new person joining in Housemarque currently. sound designer, and there's also possibilities in the future to expand it. And also represented audio side in high-level leadership and decision-making syncs during the project, and quite a lot of more. So quite many hats actually in one position. So yeah, very happy about the experience, and hopefully when people will play the game, they will hear even my touch. Even I didn't do any content for it, but a lot of design documentation and a lot of meetings. Yes, so that was me in Housemarque. So audio, who does think that audio is just post-production? Hopefully nobody at this point. So yeah, the myth is like audio is done when everything else is ready, and then the audio guys coming and you have sounds. No. So it basically runs parallel with the other development from the day one. And it doesn't even require AAA for this. Even indie games should have this approach for audio because it's just so integral part of games. So basically sound design and music are deep relations with game design, and they amplify each other, like sure all of you know. And if you have any favorite games where you really remember music or audio design, you can list them in the conversation here. So let's go technical. So this session is about the foundation. So what is the foundation, you ask? It's everything you need to basically set up before you do any design, any content, any implementation or mixing. So vision, priorities, tech, and scope. And there's a lot of, like my friend Alexander, I show him my lecture, and he said like this is often a loop, so I had to add this. So in game development system, usually like it goes in circles. Sometimes you go back in the beginning and start again, but not usually or ever you have a project where you can just design everything and it goes as planned. And because there might be some changes to gameplay during the mid-level of the design development and whatnot. So and from this, actually the foundation might be actually the most important part of like pre-designing audio for any game. And it's basically where you can lose or save the project. Or you probably heard that the post-production usually has had not the best cards when thinking of the pipelines and schedules, and often it is true that there's a huge, I won't say crunch, but lots to do in the end of the project, and that's usually true. But if the overall vision is clear from the start, then it's much easier to do those quick decisions in the end of the project. I will probably come back to this, but let's go forward. So I actually must shout out art department in this priorities when starting the sound design and everything. So basically visual identity is sonic identity. It is so important to understand this. Basically, if you don't have a game and you just have a visual guidebook and sketches from the game that are pretty much near final, you can even start with the music. So that's how important it is. And you can even start doing some ambient landscapes sketches and stuff like that. So before visual identity, it's really hard to continue. So it's basically, it comes to the brain rejects mismatches. So basically what you see is what you get usually. You extend that. So the visual fidelity and audio fidelity, they will disconnect if the visuals are not ready first. And there's two functions of sound that I need to mention here, like functional sounds, like user interface, user communication, and emotive, amplify emotions, win-lose accents, core count, voiceovers, etc. But yeah, so a couple of examples here. For example, pixel art style indie games, for example, like old school games that I played, like Mario, even Mario Celeste, and they basically led to source of synthesis style of sound designing games. So they were in symbiosis together in the history of sound design. And then you have like photorealistic and more cinematic style games, for example, and everything in between. So then you have animation speed examples. They affect also do sounds. Like if you have snappy step animation, then you have short punchy sound with hard cuts. It's reminding like arcade gaming and stuff like that. But when more extensive cinematic side, you have like fluid mocap animations. They need detailed Foley, smooth transitions, and everything that comes with the AAA territory usually. Of course, you can have like artistic ways of doing everything, but usually it depends. You can also do very cinematic sounds for indie games, and sometimes that works really well. So, and color palette and lighting, that's also quite important to understand for sound design perspective, and music. Music, for example, that's very important. So it kind of affects what kind of music, for example, you will design for the game, and for ambience, obviously. But for music, this is like really, really important. And if you have like pastels, bright days, should be open, soft frequency, major keys, clean reverbs, like this peaceful setup. And then you have like, for example, dark near lights, saturated heavy bass, crust beats, Nex Machina, this kind of synthwave stuff. So, but this like art style, animation speed, color palette, and lighting, very important for to start any kind of sound design. So, just a moment. Another audio roadmap. So this is also a loop. I did this in a hurry. So these are also, they can be loops and usually are. So we have, where we start is basically core concept of the game, the vision and the tone. So everything basically starts here. Your game idea starts here in maybe in toilet paper, wrote in after heavy night of drinking or water, whatever. But it's the idea is there, and that usually is the key to resolve the other matters. Is it slapstick comedy, psychological horror? Is it action game or whatnot? It defines the rules of the universe, basically. So if the concept is like a lonely robot in space, the tone is isolation, silence, and cold mechanics. And if you would write happy orchestral music for that kind of setup, I would have broken the core concept. And basically vision and tone of the game. So core gameplay, and gameplay is king, as you know, and arcade is not dead. So it's basically what the player is actually doing. Is it shooting, thinking, jumping? What is it that makes players interested playing your game? So audio provides the feedback for the loop. And if it's shooting, then the gun sound is reward. And killing enemies is the reward as well. If the loop is stealth, the silence is the reward, and you don't want to interact and wake up any enemies and stuff like that. So basically, all of you need to identify the loop first of your game, and basically you should spend most of your budget to ensure you have this loop in the game prioritized in the development. And visual identity is the palette and soul of the game. So this is the resolution match I talked about. The visuals dictate the palette. And basically, if the art is low poly, simple, the audio should be iconic and clean. If the art is photorealistic, complex, audio needs dirt, layers, and realism, and lots of audio technology to support that. And if there's a misconnection on this, it will not support the vision. So then we have narrative context. So that's your instrumentation and tech. So basically, it tells you the rules of your universe. And does this world have electricity? If not, there's probably no synths in the soundtrack, unless it's non-dialectic. And if it's set in 1920s Paris, well, there's a lot of rules that go into that. But you can extend if it's like kind of post, like these kind of different kind of genres that you might have additionally, post-funk or whatever. And it basically gives musicians and even, well, sound designers certain kind of scope and lines they cannot cross, basically, to confuse the player. So that's very important. Even if you don't have kind of like any spoken dialogue, to understand the world narrative is important to direct both music and sound. And of course, target audience, the mix and device, who is listening and with what. If you're a mobile gamer, I've heard there's not much sounds used or music there anymore. I don't know. I haven't played a lot, actually, mobile games, PC all the way, consoles, but I still do enjoy good mobile games that have like good sound design and music even. But depending on where you use the music in mobile games, it's a different subject. But usually with the console and PC, you would expect players to have like at least decent headphones or like decent home listening system. So then you need to take care of more of those booming stuff that already Mika mentioned in the SAROS trailer, and the booming sound was and still is one of the biggest things that Housemarque in history has had always. And even like Resogun, I think it broke a couple subwoofers. So that was very, very fun to do. But yeah, in SAROS, it's a big deal to make it boom, big deal to make it feel heavy, and the action feel really intense. Yeah, this is the audio roadmap, and usually this loops. Let's go forward. If you have any questions, by the way, during this, you can post it in the conversation as well. So the rule of three and scoping, very important. Yeah, of course, you always want to have everything perfect, but in real world in game development, even in the AAA, you cannot have everything. And it's even important when doing indie games and whatnot to kind of make sure your scope is aligned with the vision. So I would advise you guys, you're doing your games, like identify your most critical audio feature, unique selling points, because there are usually also your game's biggest selling points. They go hand in hand. So when you have done this, you can try to set a goal to create memorable audio and music. So players should identify the game when somebody is playing near you, even not watching what the game is, without visuals. So that's always in a high level the goal of every kind of audio and music project, not only in games, but in movies, TV, whatever. And also find what elevates this specific game of yours. What are the biggest selling points in audio? What are you trying to tell? And the commitment for these features, I'm saying world class, but let's say premium, as good as you can get. And the rest can be just functional, good enough. So in Housemarque, and I've heard this a bit more, if your game is like 8 out of 10 in every area, then it's a very good game. And if your audio design is 8 in every area, then it's a really, really good sound design and music. So this is also production reality. So you have to protect these areas in your schedules. And so when the time runs out, and it will, at least these areas will stand out as your basically vision pillars. It's funny to think like when talking about like post-production in audio and stuff, they actually matter in the foundation of your game. Like this is like that's why I'm talking, this is not post-production, I'm talking in audio and music, but it's actually one of the key elements of rememberable good game. So protect this in your atmosphere and give these features enough also code and other support that you can, and also in the budgets. Make sure you have the budget to create your critical features. So, like I said, when you identify these critical features, you can protect them in the pipeline. And don't try to compromise this, because you will undersell your game in the end. Even everything else, gameplay is super good, visuals are amazing, but then you have like crappy audio. It will, for the players, it will cheapen the experience so much. And thinking like of like audio side, it's not the most expensive side of any gaming, but I can tell that in SAROS the audio team was over 40 people. So that's a lot of folks doing audio and music. But yeah, when it goes that high level, everything's expensive. But yeah, in indie side you can do that with usually with 1 or 2 persons, which is super great. All right, are you still with me? Hello. I haven't seen any messages in the boards. Hopefully you're not tired yet. Good so far. Taking it all in. Wonderful. Mika, you're a perfect student. Okay, driver. What is the driver? This is something I kind of developed myself in Housemarque. While the gameplay is king, when you map your audio, you must identify the driver. This is the perspective of the player and player experience. Whose ears the player is using? Well, if the driver is soldier, focus is visceral character, player functions, weapon, enemies, rewards, you are in the body. And the perspective of the sound comes from this perspective. Okay, that sounds like Matti Nykänen, but the kind of design of the sounds come from the perspective of this example, from the soldier's perspective. English is hard. If the driver is commander, like RTS game, the focus is detached, like clear UI feedback, notifications, strategic music. You're above the action. So then the field is different, and the sound design needs to go through in that perspective. And if the driver is car, well, this sounds car. Focus is in the engine movement and the tires, the surface, the racing. So this is also very good to remember when putting out your audio design up, because it really clarifies also for the designers of audio and music in what perspective they will do their work. This is very important actually for music side as well. So the composer knows in which feelings they should kind of evoke in player. I have a couple examples. For example, if you have played Trine series, the fantasy platformer from Frozen Byte, the driver actually in cinematics only is the characters, but in the actual levels of the game, the level is the driver. So the music has been composed to the level and kind of understand the history of the level. So the level itself evokes the emotions, not the characters. Or so that's important to understand, that it can change during the game as well. So if you have a first-person shooter, narrative-driven game, in let's say in normal in-game events, the driver is the player character, but then it might change if you go to the boss, for example. So you could actually change the driver to the boss. So the boss itself is evoking the emotions, and it might be so big entity or kind of important for narrative. So the boss takes this kind of driver away from the main character's perspective. So it might change. Usually it changes during the game. But it basically determines what player needs to hear and what is the emotional feedback from the music that we direct as a creators, players to enjoy and take from the game as an experience. To the music. How do I define strategic music? I will reply to this in the QI later. You might actually not entirely sure what it means, but I will reply in the end of this speech. We have still 25 minutes left. Wonderful. Okay, music direction. And you actually can define the score-ish before you hire any composer or friend or whoever does the music yourself. And I've done this with every project basically, even like in discussions. If I'm being hired to a project, you can have these discussions just even in the first meeting. Like my usual question is about the game. If I'm a composer, what's the tempo, genre, and mood? So what's the foundation of the game? Then you know usually what there is to do with the game and how it might translate into music and art. So you can do it yourself with your own games. Basically, the video edit test. Record gameplay, check. Edit with 3 to 5 reference track. Check. Prototype with vibe instantly. Check. So basically you have to create a reference documentation. And you can list your games, movies, music, and art close to the vision you have. Then you need to define what details of these references are important to understand if you explain it to another person. So let's say you have a music reference playlist, you have 20 tracks. And if you don't define like what are the like best, like the most 3 closest tracks of those references, somebody else might understand your reference list uh, all differently. So there might be some part of some song that you didn't actually think of at all like would fit, but you picked that song because there's a one part that you really feel that works in the game. But if you don't explain that, there might be a really big misunderstanding of the vision because of that. And that's why you always have to even listen together all of these references and like go to sauna, do the whatever non-alcoholic beer stuff you do, but kind of like have a coherent understanding of the vision when talking about references. And this goes to every other aspects of game development as well. Even with the gameplay, art and animations, you just need to together like, hey, this did you see this part? What I mean, this works. So it's very important, and I've seen this even still happening. That even if you have very solid references, and even if you still have like uh, details that you have explained, and still there might be misunderstanding of the vision if you're not together talking about the subject. So keep this in mind. Would you guys like to see my previous demo reel? I could have a pause. I can still talk, but maybe watch something. Okay. Yeah, demo reel. Who wants demo reel? It's not updated yet, but it's my latest one. Yeah.
Hubba hubba.
All right, that's some epic demo reel. It's so great to watch these projects of mine, and not only mine but also my AriTunes team, Alexander and a couple other sound designers working on this. But for me, I still smile when I hear my voice acting in Angry Birds. So I also recommend for anyone who's not even interested doing voiceovers, doing them in your own game. I'm not talking like dialogue, but more like character sound design, like the Angry Birds Piggy is like oh, oh, Blue. I cannot do much sound acting, voice acting now, but also like the synthwave music for Nex Machina, very important for me, and like the fantasy music for Trine series and stuff like that. Very, very proud of those, and every game here brings back good memories. Yes, I also have had these similar situations where I've met my own persons that I love their work. For example, I met original creators of Fallout 1 and 2, and I had a very, very big fan moment with them. So, okay, back to the I'm not saying boring part, but important part. All right. Let's see where we are. Dependencies. So, I would like you to understand dependencies on audio, because it seems even now the game industry still doesn't fully understand, or if they understand, they are not always able to fit those in the production pipelines, because sound and music, they are actually, even they are cheaper, like for example code, or creating a gameplay or stuff like that, but they take a lot of time, and the bigger your game goes, there's actually a lot of things to do in audio, and to do it well. I mean, you can just list your sounds and input some stock sounds to it, but then it's basically just the temporary sounds that they don't elevate the game. They just are there because otherwise the game would be silent. But if done right, so you have your core tech, and this is your engine, your maybe Unreal, maybe something else, maybe your own. But this is also the time when you need to think about the audio tech. So for audio tech, there's also support in these native engines, but they are still not in any way close to the versatileness and professionalism, for example, like Audio Kinetic Waveise, which is currently the leading engine separating audio designers and core tech. So you implement sounds through these kind of ways. So I would recommend always Audio Kinetic Waveise, even if you have any kind of like more than super simple solutions. If you're, for example, dreaming of adaptive music solutions, yes, Waveise. And if you're really want to make your mix sound really good, if you, for example, have like military shooting game, I think some of your teams have. FMod is great as well, no problem. I am saying like FMod and Waveise both are great, but I prefer Wise because I've used the most. And in AAA, there's still somebody using FMod, but basically 70-80% are using Wise. And they're pretty similar. And I hear FMod has been getting even closer to Wise again. So it's up to your preference what to use, obviously. So the visual identity is there in the beginning as well. So any kind of sketches or kind of ideas what the game should look like, vistas from the game, main character looks and stuff like that. It's very important to lock down as kind of at least like a high-level vision guidance, even if you don't have the finals yet. So then you have the gameplay. You have done your gameplay. Hooray! So this is time you can use sound effect placeholders, no problem. But don't use too much time on them. Just for the sake of anyone who's testing the game, don't make them too annoying. That's my guideline. So there's also a couple of things to be solved, like camera behavior, level design and environment, and final script for voiceover lines. That they all also, like, depending on your game, they will set up some important guidelines how you do the sound design. But when we get to the more final game, and there's basically animation and VFX you need to do before final sound design can be done. And this is not negotiable, because when you change animation, the timing change, and if you have already kind of final sound design done, it's just the work and effort done to nothing, and it takes a lot of time to fix it. And also VFX is very important. Like it even matters if, let's say, if you have a arcade game and you've used like blue VFX with shooting all the time, then you're like, oh no, we haven't done the VFX for this yet. It was actually supposed to be red. And then the sound designers are like, oh no, so is it different? Is it like energy gun anymore? Then you're like, it's actually not electric, and we didn't think about it in the beginning before we did the VFX. So it's actually the sound that we used before, it doesn't really fit. Well, Makes sense. So when the VFX done, animation and VFX done, then you actually can do final sound design for the game. And then, of course, there's a big effort to make the audio content, and in the end, polish and mix. And this polish and mix is something that I think I should have opened a bit more in this, but it's basically a time when the audio designers, with collaboration with the creative leads or directors, whoever is leading the game, like tonally and the vision, they can still kind of find what aspects, for example, gameplay. There's a different kind of priorities in gameplay, even that you can some needs to be higher up. For example, when player dies, that should be like elevated in the mix, or if there's like some unique upgrades the player gets during the game, and when player gets those, they're obviously, oh, this feels so good when you get some kind of new gameplay elements, and the player has kind of, it's a reward for the player. Then you need to elevate that also in the mix, and not only gameplay, but like if you think about, you need to kind of elevate your ambience, or some, if you're doing a scary game, for example, then you need to level up and mix your kind of atmospheric setup in high level, and you probably need to do some adaptive changes whenever players, for example, not shooting and there's kind of scary parts going on. Then you need to elevate the kind of ambience and kind of elements of the world. And this is also kind of, it's basically directional kind of direction what you can still affect on the final mix. So where the oomph and boom comes from in the game, and what aspects of the game are the most essential for players to hear, and also kind of make sure that the players can hear everything clear, and also kind of do kind of mix hierarchy. What sounds are more important than others? Easy example is like you have a big explosion in the distance, and you need to, like, oh no, that this is scary. You need to elevate the explosion over most of the sounds of the game. You probably need to turn down the ambience and everything. So it's like basically mixing any kind of music as well. So if you want to have a booming EDM track, you need to elevate your bass drum and bass there, and kind of make the mixing damp the other stuff. So it's a world of itself, but it also correlates. For example, if thinking like gameplay, your most important gameplay elements in your game probably are the most important elements in the sound design as well. So it's a good guideline to go. Anyhow, we are nearing our end. Let's see. Okay, I'll go this quickly. So this is a list of AAA audio pillars. So these are individuals who are just taking care of this certain area. It's not just one person who is kind of doing everything, like I did in some time in my history. But for example, in SAROS and Housemarque, this is how it went. So we had like audio pillars, which are basically, they own, for example, some own the player Foley movement, some own the enemies, some own the weapons, and under those sound designers, there were additional sound designers who only work with, for example, if weapon pillar, There were only like who worked with weapon sounds and stuff like that. So this gives you a bit insight of how sounds and the scope of AAA. And this is also a good list to remember even in indie games. Like what is the prioritization of these pillars in your game? So even with this list, you can start to check what are the biggest, the top 3 most important things for your game. So just pro tip there. And one thing that is also quite new, I don't know if you have still checked, but haptics. They are getting even like in indie games, they are doing a lot of effort to make haptics work, and it's also a big part, very big part of at least AAA. Any tips learning to mix Foley sounds? Yes, I have a lot, but it would take a lot of time. But I'm now continuing as a lecturer, so I am planning to do a lot of different subjects in audio teaching. So and Foley sounds is one part of that. But quick answer would be like you have a decent microphone, a laptop, and then you check some YouTube videos about how close the mix should be and about what kind of sounds are you recording, and then just there's a lot of tips and tricks in YouTube as well of the Foley recordings. I've done it myself for Dead Nation. There was like zombies, a lot of them, and it was very gory. And I was still working inside Frozen Byte, Kuusisaari. What was the address? Krogiuksen tie, yeah, Kuusisaari. I had this one extra small studio when I bought a lot of vegetables, meats, and stuff like that, and I put like plastic all over the place and just started destroying all of those, and yeah, recorded this session, and it was wild, and the place smelled so horrible after one day. But yeah, I got really great sounds. For example, Dead Nation, when you get critical hit on zombie head, then you have this kind of kind of organic matter. So for me, it was important to have this kind of skull fracture sound, including the bullet hit, including kind of this very nasty tail of liquid and organic material. So yeah, very fun. Okay, so key takeaways. It's always the foundation. Vision, clarification before creation. Identify the driver, protect your big 3. This is quite simple in that. So last slide. So audio is your co-designers basically. So and we are very enthusiastic about what we do, and most of the work we do is super fun. And when we get to work with great vision, it excites us, and we design game feel and emotion to fit that vision. And when we understand the vision, we amplify every mechanic, story beat, and visual effect for sure. And it's like partnership. It's like strategic partners that elevate the vision of the game. And for end user, for the players, it's been like that since the early ages of arcade gaming. I'm still a fan of Turrican 2 and most of those epic games with epic music, and yeah, for me the best games usually have like great sounds and music, because it kind of tells me that the creators of the game or any art, they appreciate the art as a whole. And for memory, creating memorable experiences that last long, nostalgic moments, they are the ones that make you feel go back after years and years of not playing some game you loved in the child, go back and enjoy it again. Why it was so good? Because the oral elements, they tend to stuck in your head a lot. So it's we turn function into feeling. But yeah, this is me. Thank you for watching. 1 hour went super quick.